So Star Wars Outlaws is on the way, and we thought it would be a perfect time to revisit some of Xbox's previous adventures in that galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I think Xbox as a platform's got really great pedigree for Star Wars games, going all the way back to the OG console, which is actually where one of my favourite Star Wars games comes from, and that is Knights of the Old Republic. We're going to start big. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and trust me, if we didn't talk about this game, Bex, I think we'd probably get slaughtered in the comments. I don't know if you've played it, but...
Chat, would you slaughter us?
I think we'd get slaughtered.
Would you be upset if we missed out Knights of the Old Republic? I'm gonna immediately set myself up here.
Oh no.
I haven't played it, I'm sorry.
Okay, you should, mainly because I genuinely don't think that we would have some of the great RPGs that we also see nowadays if it weren't for games like Knights of the Old Republic, because this really set a standard for what RPGs of like the current era could do. Really?
So not even just from a Star Wars fan perspective, but from a, not even sci-fi, I guess. Like, you're talking holistically RPGs. Okay, tell me more.
Literally, if you look at Baldur's Gate 3, for example, obviously hit Xbox really recently, last year, and sweeping Game of the Year awards. Well, this game did it like 20 years before then. It got Game of the Year multiple times. It's literally also based on like a Dungeons and Dragons rule set, similar to Baldur's Gate. So, but what it really did well was take Star Wars as an IP and allow it to play really well within that choice-based format that RPGs tend to let you. At least, you know, in the regards of like D20 style RPGs, which I know when you look at it nowadays, it might look really dated, it might look a bit archaic, quite slow, but that's the beauty of it, is you could really plan out your attacks, and they do still happen in real time, so there's an element of active participation in these fights when you compare it to games like Baldur's Gate, which is a bit more hard turn-based. You have to wait your turn, see if anyone's going to hit you, or you can actually react, etc. But yeah, Knights of the Old Republic was a really fresh way to experience that style of gameplay, and the story absolutely slaps. It, in my opinion, it is a slight shame that it's no longer like canon for Star Wars. But that being said, it is still well worth experiencing, because it's also a game that has, in my opinion, I don't know if I'm going to spoil it or make people feel bad now, but has one of the best twists in a game I've ever played. It really like reeled me off. I was like, good God, didn't see that coming. You're talking about twists in gaming overall, not just within the literally like Star Wars games. Okay. So as some context, this game's within like the timeline of Star Wars. Like I said, it's not canonical anymore, but it's set 4,000 years before the actual films. So this is like an area of Star Wars that was never really explored before this game came out, and tells this tale about this overruling Sith that have just come back, and there's this war between the then Republic and the Sith, rather than just like the Republic and the Empire, or the Rebels and the Empire. So what's great about those is that you can play however you like. There's a lot of choice here. You can literally design a Sith of your own if you want. You can play into the dark side, or you can play into the light side. And you've got your party as well that you get to arrange your strategies around, and decide who you're going to bring along with you, who's going to be most useful for certain scenarios. And it's just great to explore different areas of the galaxy that we haven't really seen in other Star Wars games, but also with that context of it's your own story. You can decide where it goes. You can decide the order in which you do things, and it's just a really fresh experience, even like 20 years on. So yeah, definitely check that one out. And the sequel, because the sequel is also really badass. Still playable thanks to back compatibility. And Henry, you've sold me already. It's so good, so good. I want to point out really quickly to those listening that Henry is, I'm going to big you up, sorry, so I hope you don't mind. I would consider you one of my most knowledgeable Star Wars people. Yes. And you know, just enthusiastic about the series and saga in general, I guess. It's my favorite thing, to be honest. It's your favorite thing ever, in the world. Yeah, I'd say so. That's sick. Ever since I was a kid, I was always into Star Wars. So, and it's cool to see that is being passed on to everybody nowadays in fun and new ways, like they do it in Fortnite. Because Fortnite Star Wars is also just such a fresh take on handling an IP. And they've brought really creative ways to just have fun with Star Wars with that Fortnite framework. It's really cool.
It's been like through different iterations as well that they've included Star Wars over the years as well, like starting off with just, you know, a couple of skins and then adding in gameplay mechanics like the lightsabers, which are really fun, and then growing that more and more with, you know, NPC bases that you can take on. I remember recently like having Darth Vader as almost like an NPC boss. Yeah.
A really great way to integrate the fun weaponry that you can have with Star Wars, the fun abilities you can have with Star Wars, like the Force, and also the locations. Like they're really nice to drop in. When they did like the Mandalorian sort of tie-in and the Book of Boba Fett tie-in, you got to explore these areas that reminded you a bit of the like Mos Eisley areas, I suppose. And yeah, it was just really cool just to walk around them and probably get fragged by someone who's, you know, 20 years younger than me, but 20 times more talented at Fortnite.
Wearing a ninja skin.
Yeah, that's the way it goes though.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I would expect even more great things for Fortnite and Star Wars purely because of that partnership that Disney and Epic Games now have. I mean, they literally have access to the Lucasfilm vault of content to be able to just pull out authentic sounds, authentic weaponry, work with them on exciting new partnerships going forward. So it's definitely an area of Star Wars that I think for gamers, you should be, you know, keep your ear to the ground on it, because I think it's just going to get better and better from here.
Yeah, speaking of getting better and better, we've got some exciting things coming up in Lego Fortnite being added too, in the Star Wars universe too, or from the Star Wars universe, sorry, with, you know, survival modes where you can actually build up rebel outposts or incorporate that into your Lego Fortnite world, as well as the skins, plus some Cantina Band festival jams, which
absolutely
slaps.
I'm so down for that. We're going to have to get like a full set of instruments to play it all along.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That would be so fun.
I'll be the one that goes do 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 do.
Okay, I'll be
pretty much the whole thing.
That's pretty much the whole thing. I'll just sit in the corner then, I guess. Great.
You'll be Han Solo sitting in the corner of the bar.
Nice.
Cantina.
Shooting first.
Cantina.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Going back to kind of Star Wars IP games, mainline games, sort of. We have Star Wars Squadrons as well, which my dad actually really enjoyed.
Nice.
One of the most iconic things from all of the movies is, of course, the fights in space that we get to see. And while some other games touch on that a little bit, it's fun to have a full game kind of dedicated to that. Too, especially from a first person in the cockpit perspective, fighting through a solo campaign, which is also really good fun, or also multiplayer.
Definitely. I love the campaign in it because you get to see both sides of the battle as well. You'll be spending some time as the rebels, you know, piloting X-Wings and all sorts, and then half of it you'll also be spending as the Empire. So you do get this like complete narrative, which is a really fun way to tell a story, I think, in a campaign. And then once you've gotten to grips with everything, you can dive into multiplayer, and it's absolutely frantic. Like, we tried playing it as well with a flight stick, and that was a really cool way to like immerse yourself into the game more. When you tie that with the fact it's all first person, the interior of the cockpit is like really authentically designed and looks so good too. You tie all of that together and you're just trying to navigate through like really tight spaces and pay attention to all the instruments on your cockpit so that you know whether your next target's going to be, or if you're going to need to like maneuver out of the way of like a proton torpedo or something. Yeah. It's great. Plus on Series X and S you can play it in 120 FPS, which makes it even more liquid smooth, which does help when you're flying pretty quick out there in space as well. So
through those stars.
Yeah, it's a wicked game.
The more we talk about it, the more I think it is I think it's underrated. I'm going to say it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think I hear or I see a lot of the time, maybe online, maybe you guys in the comments will feel the same sometimes, that, you know, when new RPGs come out, or especially like sci-fi based or these vast video games that cover so much inside them, but maybe sometimes people feel that it's missing vehicular combat or even just vehicular gameplay in general. Squadrons is such a good, like, it's a whole game just dedicated to that. So if you want to do it, like, absolutely go and check out Squadrons. You can fly through any galaxy far away that you like. Plus, if you're already a Game Pass Ultimate member, it's on EA Play, so you can go and test out your X-Wing flight skills.
Most people, at the very least, you should play the solo campaign because it's great. The voice acting in it's awesome. The visuals are so good, and the set pieces, it's wicked. But I think you'll also be really surprised at how fun just the multiplayer side of it is. Just in vehicles, it's great. But if you do want a bit more than just vehicles, well, Star Wars kind of, in my opinion, owns this like mass scale war sort of style of game, and that is with the Battlefront IP. And from the very beginning, again, throwing it way back to the original Xbox, it blew everyone away because, again, it's in the name, Star Wars. So people wanted to see what the full-scale battles would actually look like. We'd always hear about them a bit in the films. You know, the Battle of Hoth was a great example of it in Episode 5. But to actually play those key moments during the war out was a really exciting thing to do. And recently they've just brought the original 2 back with the Classics Collection, which is a lot of fun. We streamed it before and it was it was so good.
Jokes, man.
But it felt just like being home again because it all came flooding back to me, all the memories of playing it much later than I used to probably be allowed to stay up. It was great, and I think it still sets a great example of what can be achieved when you take an IP and just let people have as much fun with it as possible. And there's also much to be said about the modern Battlefront games as well, because Battlefront 2 in particular, I know it sort of started off a little bit rocky, but since then that is made strides into becoming a really rounded and just fully complete game on its own. And now you can even play it in FPS boost. So again, you could play that game at 120 FPS on your Xbox, and it looks great too. I mean, it also includes a great campaign story, which is always nice for people to know, is part of the Star Wars canon and introduced Iden Versio. And honestly, her campaign is fascinating because you start off on the Empire side and you're going to experience what her development is like through what she learns about the war and what she learns about the Imperial side of things, and then also interacting with, again, some iconic Star Wars characters. It's a great campaign and one worth experiencing on its own. Plus, multiplayer is just banging.
It is so much fun, honestly. So
rocking around on Camino and just leathering people through choke points, and you know, then you turn into Darth Maul and you're just spinning around, and lopping off limbs. It's so sick.
Lopping off limbs.
Plus, as well as that, it was a game that got a lot of support post-launch in that they introduced loads of different DLC packs, which I believe you can play all of that via EA Play again. So you'll get the content like the Battle of Scarif update, which I think was the last major update they did for Battlefront 2, the modern one. But that allowed you to play on Scarif itself, which everybody who's a Star Wars fan loves because it featured in Rogue One, and Rogue One, let's be honest, is there's arguments to be made that it's the best Star Wars film. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to people that love
he said
Empire, but it's, you know, Rogue One is absolutely class. Right, let's talk about something that isn't canon, but is, again, sort of revered as just a great Star Wars story. And there's an argument to be made that a lot of, like, they call it legends, which is like the non-canonical stories. Some of them are just some of the best Star Wars stories out there, and that's totally fine that they're not part of canon, because you can still buy them and experience them and play them, and they're great fun. The one we're going to talk about right now is The Force Unleashed, which is a really cool premise, because you play as Starkiller. That's his code name. I'm not going to tell you what his real name is. You'll find out when you play it, guys. Yeah, but he's Starkiller, which is coincidentally the name of Starkiller Base, obviously. And actually, I think that's what Luke's original name was going to be. He was going to be Luke Starkiller.
I think you're right. I feel like I literally heard that.
It sounds too aggressive, I think. And if he's meant to be a hero, Starkiller's a bit on the nose.
Yeah, stars are nice. Why are you trying to kill them, bro?
I know. But anyway, you play as Starkiller, and he is actually Darth Vader's apprentice in secret. Because if you know your Star Wars, then you know that the rule of two means that there can only ever be 2 Siths at a time. And so Vader had to keep his apprentice secret until he eventually would, you know, defeat Palpatine and become the new Sith Lord. So in the meantime, he's been training you up, Starkiller, as like a secret agent, and sending you on all these little cool missions where you're basically rounding up Jedi or helping with the war effort. And it's cool to just not have to worry about, oh, you're going to start off as a good guy and maybe you can stray into the dark eventually. No, you start off as a fully fledged Sith apprentice who is very powerful,
unashamedly bad. Do you know what I mean?
And you get to mess around with like Force Lightning and Force Choke and all these cool abilities. Let's be honest, some of the dark side powers are probably cooler than the light side ones, but you know, that's fine. The great thing about it though is the first thing you do in the game is you get to play a bit as Darth Vader. So that is reason enough to just go for it. Like, you're just this slow, hulking brute, kind of like what we experienced in Rogue One. Experiencing Vader that way was so cool, because you in the original films, I always felt like, yeah, we get told that Vader's like really powerful and really strong, but just because of the limitations of the films back then, you never really got to see it that much. Like, it's brilliant fun. But yeah, the story in Force Unleashed and the sequel, very good fun. Everyone should play it.
Another non-canonical one is the remaster of Dark Forces, which is more focused along the blaster kind of combat and things.
We'll drop the lightsabers just for a bit.
I mean, from this video alone, there are so many that you can wield a lightsaber in. So let's
switch it up.
I just started blasting.
Yeah.
Have you played this one at all?
I actually haven't, no, but I always hear in discussions that it was just a rock solid game. And I mean, it fits that sort of boomer shooter category. So if you're a fan of like the original Dooms, the original Wolfensteins, you're going to be right at home with this. Just looks like cracking fun. And I think for the speedrunners out there, this is going to be a fun one to add to your toolkit of games that you can try and just get quicker and quicker and quicker with, whilst maintaining that boomer shooter ID that is always just loads of fun, to be honest.
Heck yeah.
Like sliding around the floor and just wielding massive guns, just like you do in Doom. Why wouldn't it be just as fun in a Star Wars setting? So I'm going to check this one out after the video, I think, because it looks like brilliant fun.
Star Wars Doom, what more could you ask for?
Exactly.
That remaster has brought in a lot of real nice tech if you guys like that sort of thing. So we've got up to 120 FPS frame rates plus 4K Ultra HD on the Xbox Series X. And like Henry mentioned, those cutscenes look real nice. I really like the art style for those.
You could take a lot of screenshots in those and like put them on your bedroom wall as a poster or something. I don't know. It's up to you to do that, chat. Figure it out.
We would be absolutely remiss to not mention all of the fantastic Lego Star Wars games.
Yeah, I want to give a special shout out though to the Skywalker Saga, the recent one, because I think they just took everything they learned from all of the previous games that have come out over the years and just mashed it into a really comprehensive Star Wars fan, Lego fan game. I mean, the Skywalker Saga has everything. Yep. All the characters, all the locations, all the story beats. It is so good. Even
more, like, you're right. Like, so already they had a fantastic base of that Lego game sense of humor mixed with really fun Star Wars stories and featuring all those main characters that you would expect. And then, like you say, the Skywalker Saga collected all of that together and then added so much more too.
What's really great about it though is the modernizations it's gone through. Like we said, they took a lot of what they learned from the previous Lego Star Wars games and all the other Lego games and thought, how can we make this feel modern on like Series X and S? And that new camera angle they're using for like over-the-shoulder blaster fighting, the upgrade to like comboing with lightsabers and melee weapons is so good. And it just looks great too. I mean, I'm pretty sure, if I remember this right, all of the interiors, all of the like locations, they basically built them for real to figure out how would we make this interior work with Lego.
Stop.
So it was like a full partnership between Lucas and Lego to design the interiors to make them accurate to Star Wars, but also if you had to actually build these like sets with Lego, it's possible because they were like recreated that way. So really comprehensive, really authentic, really faithful to the IP on both sides of it, and also just a lot of fun. Like, honestly, like you said, the comedy in it is great.
Great humor.
And the gameplay is great too.
Yeah, we played it in split screen as well, which was jokes. So well done there as well. So yeah, another one to play either solo or as with some friends. It's great.
Also, just the little dioramas on the like episode selection screen are gorgeous. Like, I really want to actually try and make them, but I don't think I could buy that much Lego. I'll probably get told off.
I'm pretty biased, but my favorite Star Wars games, or up there with like games I like overall as well, is the Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor.
Yes.
Cal Kestis as a character is just fantastic. I've said this in like previous videos, so I vibe with him so much. I think he is such a fun character to play through and just so relatable as well, coming from someone who has had to, you know, maybe hide a part of themselves out of fear or, you know, just getting on with daily life or whatever, and then having to rise up for the good in the world. It's such a fun hero story, especially set in that universe. I particularly loved in Fallen Order all of the settings and locations that we would go to, specifically like Sheik and what's it called? What's the first planet called?
Zepho.
Zepho. I loved Zepho as well. But yeah, we have also had Jedi Survivor, which has won some awards too for soundtrack and things.
Yeah, and I can see why, because I think, again, this is the great thing that Lucas do well and Disney do well when they're partnering up with teams to make games these days, is they are just letting them have fun with the vault of like authentic sounds, authentic imagery. They're not holding back. They want these games to feel faithful and important to Star Wars fans, and that is definitely reflected in the quality of the Jedi series. And like I say, yeah, Cal's story is fantastic, but I think it's also fun that they have tried it in a bit more of a difficult style of gameplay. So this is much more of a Souls-like type game. I wouldn't say it's as difficult as like Elden Ring, for example, but certainly there are a lot of challenges here that most gamers would find quite difficult to overcome. But I think that's really important to the context of the story and the theme of the story, because Cal himself is going on this journey where he feels very much alone in the world. It's all up against him. You know, it's set after Order 66. So this is during the time of the Empire, where he's a Padawan who, in hiding, has, yeah, like you said, had to hide his identity. He's carrying a lot of guilt with him and trauma from his past through the events of Order 66. And now it's up to you to like guide him through this journey of becoming a Jedi, becoming a stronger person, forging relationships with people, exploring the galaxy, and that comes with taking on foes who are out to get you. And honestly, some of the set pieces, some of the boss fights in both of these games are fantastic.
Yeah.
One in particular I remember in Jedi Survivor that I was just tearing my hair out was this fight against 2 Rancors, which one Rancor's bad enough, but fighting 2 of them in close proximity with absolutely nothing around you was so brutal, but again, so rewarding and satisfying once you get through it.
I thought you were going to speak about Ogdo Bogdo.
Well, Ogdo's pretty tough as well.
Part 2, the Revenge of Ogdo Bogdo.
Yeah, and the spawn of Ogdo as well.
It's just fun to say.
It is fun to say.
Ogdo Bogdo, the Sith.
I just really like chopping his stupid tongue off, to be honest, but you know.
I think you're so right about how the Souls-like elements of the gameplay really mirror the story and complement it so well, because it really made me want to explore a lot more of the world. Like, yeah. I did absolutely everything. I went and searched every single corner, and the way the map design is like leads very nicely to that. I also really like about both of these games how we have so many elements across the galaxy tied into it. You know, we have Jedi and Imperials, we have bounty hunters, we have scavengers, we have all sorts and covers all bases really of Star Wars in a way, in such a fun and unique way, I think. Plus, yeah, Cal's great, but also the supporting characters are really good fun as well.
100%.
And BD1.
BD1 might just be the cutest little droid ever.
I think.
In anything.
Amen. BD1 supremacy.
Definitely. So plenty of games to keep us busy till Star Wars Outlaws comes out, but knowing us, we've probably forgotten one of you guys' favourite Star Wars games, so let us know what that is in the comments, and of course make sure you subscribe and like so that we can drop any Outlaws news that comes our way. When it does, we'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Bye.
Vroom.